Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of Ohio Valley Wrestling. You are in Danny Davis Arena, and I am Gilbert Corsi, joined alongside majority owner Dean Hill. It is my privilege at this time to welcome very special...
I have somebody that knew what we were going to do tonight. He asked if he could be here. He played such a huge role in OVW for so many years. I asked him to come as a surprise. Could I have him come out now, please?
It's Al
Ladies and
Snow.
gentlemen,
Oh, man!
Al Snow!
Al Snow's back! Wow! Now that's a surprise. It's been a year since we've seen Al Snow in the Davis Arena.
Been longer than that since Al Snow showed his head in the Davis Arena.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, it is a big, historic night for us here in Ohio Valley Wrestling. I'm seeing a few familiar faces in the crowd as well. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome the Commissioner of the Kentucky Boxing and Wrestling Commission, Tim Gunnerman, and Chairman Chad Miller.
Comes Chad Miller, Tim Gunnerman, who's bringing an award plaque that will be awarded to our founder, our godfather.
For those of you who don't know, Tim Gunnerman is basically the head of the Kentucky Wrestling Commission. He's a big deal around here in the state.
Tim, Chad, it is a pleasure for you guys to join us today. And before I turn the mic over to you for this ceremony, I'd like to welcome the man of the hour, the founder of Ohio Valley Wrestling, Nightmare Danny Davis.
To this man, Danny Davis, we are all paying tribute.
Chad Miller, I'll turn it over to you for the presentation of this Lifetime Achievement Award.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Very few times in my life I've been able to stand beside a legend such as Danny Davis. We'll give him another round of applause here real quick. So with that being said, this is an inaugural award, and this is what we would like to refer to as a legacy award. Over the years, you know, the Davis family, not only with Danny, but also his other family, precluding him, were able to really make an impact on combat sports here in the state of Kentucky. When I became chairman of the Boxing and Wrestling Commission last May, I looked at what we had going on here, and there was one bright spot, and that's OVW Wrestling. And that's all surrounding you guys in the crowd, that's surrounding the athletes here on the floor. And I can say that it's been an excellent experience. And what we want to do, we want to look at this award, and we originally want to start a Hall of Fame. And so this year, we wanted to start that off on the right foot. We looked at things, and we looked at the athletes, and we looked at the trainers, and we looked at the managers, and we said, okay, who is the representative of what we're trying to accomplish as a commission and what we're trying to do with our athletes and send them on to the next level? And I believe this is the 934th taping, from what I understand. It's the second longest running wrestling program in the United States, which is to be commended right there in itself. And also, if you looked at the history, 11 of the last 13 WrestleManias, there's been at least 5 people on that roster that have been involved with that program, whether on stage or behind camera. That's just nothing short of spectacular. And then you start thinking about all the talent that has appeared on the main stage, we call the grand stage, whether it be WWE or over in Japan, wrestling in front of 85,000 fans a night. And over 200 of them have to thank Mr. Danny Davis. And the most important and impressive thing I've got to say are the millions of dollars that he's raised for charity over the years, for underprivileged kids, for Catholic charities, for the local environments, local community, just nothing short of spectacular. So with that being said, a man of such high class, such high character, and such high caliber, he really raises a bar for every single promoter and every single athlete that we have involved in combat sports today, not only here in Kentucky, but also across the country and even in the world. And so with that tonight, we want to honor Mr. Davis I'm going to just read from the plaque real quick. We look at this, we're celebrating an individual diligently for the advancement of combat sports in Kentucky, mentors athletes in combat sports, and participates in community and civic engagement. And with that being said, I have no higher honor than I can ever have in my life right here tonight than to give this award, and also give this award in perpetuity to an individual that represents Mr. Davis. Thank you very much for everything you've done for our community. Thank you for everything you've done for our state. And thank you for everything you've done for our country. With that being said, I want to turn the mic over to you, and I can't thank you enough for what you do.
Thank you. Wonderfully said, Mr.
Thank you,
Miller.
Mr. Miller. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Gilbert. Thank you, Al. And most definitely, thanks to all the fans who have supported OVW all these years, because thank you. Thank you. Folks, real quick, for those of you who know me away from this entertainment life, I am a humble person, and I'm not the gruff guy you normally see out here. To receive such an honor, it extremely humbles me beyond belief. I promise you, I will do my best to live up to this, and I feel that my late mother, who really got me to watching wrestling, had it not been for her, I wouldn't be here. Simply because, and I won't bore you, but I'll do this real quick if I can. When I was 5 and 6 years old, I used to sit on my grandfather's knee on my mother's side. It was her dad, and we would watch the old-time wrestling in black and white, and he would have his pocket knife in his hand, and he would be this close, like 2 feet from the TV, and he would have his pocket knife in his hand, and he would say to the bad guys, "I'll cut you, you dirty SOB." And that's my first recollection of wrestling, and that came from my grandpa. Oh, my mother, as I grew up, we used to watch local wrestling, and I always said to my mom, "Boy, one day I would like to do that because I think I could do it. I really think I could." Even though I was, a little runt, I always thought I could do it. So as the years passed, I got married, had 3 kids. I'm working a retail job. My mom calls me one day and says, "Dan, there's a wrestling show at the Jackson, Tennessee Coliseum, and the ad in the paper says if you want to learn to be a wrestler, you be out back at 5 o'clock and you might get your chance." Well, I had a family, and I had a real good job, and I lived 100 miles away. I took off from my job. I drove to Jackson, Tennessee, where this place was happening, and I stood around out back. There was about 200 people out there, boys and girls, of all ages and sizes. And Buddy Fuller, a guy by the name of Terry Sawyer, came out, and they chose like a half a dozen people to come in that night. And it just happened that I was one of those guys. And from there, my wrestling career started. And I owe this to my mom. Because had she not made that call, that would have never happened. And it's kind of amazing. This year celebrates my 40th year in the wrestling industry, and I could not have done it without the support of each one of you. And for that, I thank you. My mom thanks you. My dad thanks you. My children thank you. My grandkids thank you. And I assure you, I thank you. God bless you.
I want to say one thing to you, my dear friend. You mentioned a second ago that you hope to be able to live up to this. I want you to know you've already lived up to it.